And then the other big developments, which we talked about on air, but dream versus concrete. Thinking, why the hell are you saying dream versus concrete? Well, dream. Fabrizio Romano mentioned it in threads that, and he said it before, we've said it umpteen times before on the transfer show. Alexander Isak, the 26-year-old Newcastle number 9, is the dream option for us. And as I said the other night on the transfer show, get it out your system now. Get out the injuries galore. He's always injured. Get out there. We're never going to pay that price. Newcastle are never going to sell him. They're in the Champions League. I am not disagreeing with any of that. I still think this is highly unlikely. And quite often, as the word is there, a lot of dreams are called pipe dreams, aren't they? Yeah, because of the nature of what we talk about. So I still think this is highly unlikely. But as we said on the transfer show late last night, that our info, and as this came out afterwards as well, Liverpool are still in and still trying for Alexander Isak, however unlikely it seems. And also, as we said, as our information via the transfer show and various sources, that Newcastle do like some of Liverpool players, Diogo Jota being one. Does that mean automatically there'll be a swap, a player plus cash deal? No, of course it doesn't. But that is the info that we're getting. So we're bringing it to you. Again, almost wild. And Edwards, Hughes, Ward, whoever we know how slick, how shrewd these are as operators. The fact they're still in and trying for Alexander Isak means there's something there, people, as we know. And the injury bit, I sort of tried to dig around this, messaged a few people, and actually got a response back from someone involved in the medical side. There was a couple of things that came up for this. I don't know how small this is on your screen, apologies. But in terms of the injuries last year, there's two things that the medical side said to me, that previous injury is the best indicator of future injury. As in, if it's happened once, it'll likely happen again. If someone's regularly injured, they'll continue to be regularly injured. It's very rare that it changes. So that's the first point to make. But the second point, and then I hadn't clocked this, hands up to it, is it was put to me, I say, by that medical side around there's a difference between impact and muscle injuries, and you have to separate the two a little bit. They can be linked, but you should separate the two. And if you look at Isak last season, missed 9 games. 7 of those, as it says there, were through a broken toe. Whereas hamstring injury and groin injury, that was a game apiece, according to transfer marks there. Now, I think it's fair to say, some people will jump on this, there were games that Newcastle, I think, rested, left him out, so we're never quite sure. There's talk of a hamstring injury there as well. So you're never 1,000% sure how this works, but important to know. And the other thing that was said, and maybe you sometimes forget these things, just in the league as well, Isak played 2,756 minutes. And in fact, important to say, Newcastle didn't have Europe. So yes, you could argue rest during the week. But last season, Isak played 3,324 minutes. I don't know, people, how you put it, but when you look at all that, and just as it was put to me, it did make me think again that we will just say, Isak Croc, forget it. And I'm still saying that I'm not sure he's the best option. There's others I'd rather have, like Julian Alves. That seems to be dead, doesn't it? That seemed to get shot down completely from Romano this morning. However, Liverpool seem fully in for Alexander Isak, who netted 23 goals and 6 assists in the Premier League. 27 goals in all competitions. It still feels unlikely, but until this death knell hits it, if you want to call it that, and Liverpool move on, it's still there. That's the dream signing, as Fabrizio Romano called it. So now we've got to move to the hard reality. And sometimes, especially in terms of flooring, when you hit there, hard can involve concrete. And that is exactly how Fabrizio Romano described Hugo Ekitike, the French player, striker for Eintracht Frankfurt, 22 years old, the concrete option. Now, for this one, personally, and we'll see what happens, we'll see what develops, I get the feeling this is where Liverpool end up on. That if you can't get Isak, if you can't get Alvarez, it feels like this is the next name on the list, cab off the rank, whatever platitude you want to use for Hugo Ekitike. And this, if you look at social media, divides a fan base, doesn't it, somewhat? Because on the surface, you'll think, between the Bundesliga and Europa, 19 goals, 11 assists, so 30 goal contributions seems decent, doesn't it? And the other way that it was put to me as well this morning, that in terms of when you look at the things he doesn't have compared to Isak and Alvarez, you should start looking more at the things he does have in terms of he's a shot monster. He's got a decent XG per shot. And if you look at where he scores his goals from, they're not that similar to the Spurs blockbuster that a lot of people have clocked, it was also said. Good in possession, good carrier of the ball as well, and rapid. So that comes into the mix as well. I think that the main thing for people around Hugo Ekitike is Eintracht Frankfurt and Marcus Croce saying specifically that 100 million euros, that's the price out there, isn't it? Around the 80, just over 80 million mark. But again, as we said on the transfer show, that Hugo Ekitike wants to come to Liverpool. You just wonder, is there any wiggle room in that price? What would Liverpool go to for Hugo Ekitike if they can't get Alexander Isak and they can't get Julian Alvarez, which seems the more likely scenario at the moment? So you fall on this guy. And whenever you look at his stats, it's always important to say he's a Bundesliga. So if, as analysts will tell you, there's a 0.14 variation. So that's what you'd knock off from his statistics against the Premier League. But, as we said, he's a carrier, 96th percentile. Successful take-ons, 96th percentile as well. Shot creating actions, 3.5 per 90 minutes in the 94th percentile. We mentioned all those things. And other things to reference, carrier, 301k over the Bundesliga season is impressive. And that top speed, 35.53 kmh. It's not in the absolute whippets of the 36ers, but it's electric. It's still very quick. So all that just starts to add up. And honestly, as it stands right now, I do think when it's called the concrete, this is the real option that will happen for Liverpool. I do think, and proved wrong. And listen, I didn't think we'd get Wirtz. I was proved wrong on that. So I'm happy to be proved wrong again. That Alexander Isak will fail. Julian Alvarez will fail. And this is where Liverpool will end up. The ultimate judgment on these two, I think, which I see a lot of people reference, is it's the now versus the future, as well as the dream versus the concrete. Ekitike is one signing that may take a bit of time, I think, as people believe, till be fully proven. Yes, he'll be better than what we have now, but it may just take a year or maybe more for that to develop. That's the fear. And I understand that fear as well. And part of that fear linked to the fact that your Alissons, your Van Dijks, your Salahs have only got a few years left at Liverpool. And it's maybe a win now, not in the future. And if you are going to grasp the biggest prizes, yeah, it's great to add Florian Wirtz, but you need the striker, you need the 9 for now. And if anyone's doubting this, as Lewis Steele mentioned, Liverpool's next target, Liverpool's next aim is a number 9. The dream versus the concrete. I think it'll be the hard landing on the concrete, but we will see what develops with this one, ladies and gents.